Hey, yep, I'm gonna just jump right in. Ain't trying to waste any time. All right, got my 16-inch KS47, which I call Wolverine. And the last time you seen this thing, I don't know when it was. I can tell you what was in it before, which was the Geisley SD3G trigger, but I ended up taking that out and put it into the 8-inch KS47. And now the mil spec triggers in here with the D's Nuts tactical super safety, force reset safety. Now, before I go any further on what's on the safety selector, I gotta tell you what's going on right now. The magazine that I'm using is the original magazine that I got with the M&M M10X. If I had it on me right now, I'd read it to you, but I'm so pissed off at that thing that I didn't throw it somewhere because I ain't trying to use it again. That magazine really only works in the M10X, the Galils, and maybe the Zestapa. Possibly, I don't know. But I ain't trying to get into a situation where I grab that magazine and it doesn't want to work. That's not what we're doing out here. That's not how it goes. So, yeah, piece of shit. Ain't gonna keep it. Alright. Well, as you can see, the problem is when trying to get that thing to feed, there's a problem with it. It doesn't necessarily want to do it. Now, it does actually load up some. But that's about all you're gonna get out of it. So I'm not trying to fool around with it. Now let me go ahead and start telling you about this safety selector. So this is the D's Nuts safety selector. First thing I'm gonna tell you, I was not ready to see that this was a push button selector, somewhat like a shotgun. I could have looked online a little bit more, but it's a push button. So the middle position is the force reset safety selection. Oh yeah, baby, that thing felt good. Now, one of the things that I have always had a problem with the KS47s is those soft primer strikes, which I'm possibly going to lead to think that means that I need to get a heavier buffer. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna get to that a little bit later. But this actually does what it's supposed to do. Hey, I ain't even gonna cap. I was surprised how well that ran and how well it felt, because compared to the Atrius, and with all of the hype around the Atrius and the backlog on the Atrius, because that thing is out of stock, back ordered, and in order for me to get mine as quickly as I did, I happen to know the owner, which is Grant. Grant is also the owner of the Range of Austin, you know what I'm saying? And also co-founder of SB Tactical, you know what I'm saying? Got all the other things that he's doing. But I hit him up on DM because he had said that he had some coming in, and I said, hey, dude, what order number was yours? And he said, hey, man, I'm actually one of the owners of the company, so let me know how I can get it to you faster. And we worked it out, so we got it. Now I got it in my 10.5-inch AR-15. I name it BAME because I got that cookie cutter muzzle device on here. What problem I'm having right now is a stuck bolt. So on the Atrius, the way this thing works is similar to the other safety selectors. The Atrius has I don't know if you're going to call it a hook or a J, but it has this piece that is to go in the area of the BCG, but if it doesn't have the movement, I don't really know the words, but if it goes too far forward, it gets stuck under the bolt. And that's why you saw me having to hit it in order to get the charging handle to release. Now, currently, in this gun, in this video, I have in my CMC trigger. Love that trigger in this gun. But I was not aware that with the safety selectors, you do need to make sure that you're running possibly a mil-spec trigger, and the type of trigger on there does have to be somewhat flat. Let me see if I can explain it correctly for you. So the trigger itself, not the actual, I'm talking about the whole thing, the part that you slide down into the lower. The trigger part in the back, sometimes you have a closed area and sometimes you have an open area. In these, you can't use one of those triggers that has an open area. It ain't gonna like that. It's not gonna work. It has to have a closed area. Now, some of those, what it looks like, if I could look at it and give you an analogy, it looks like two walls with a flat open area, almost as if it was two tall walls in the floor. That's the open area. You can't use that. You don't want that. And here in this gap right now, what I'm doing is I am using the Geisley SD3G in here, and it ain't working. It ain't working. But what you want to use is the closed area. So where it's flat, there's no walls. The whole thing is just flat. So throughout all this time, I'm texting Grant. I'm letting him know that I'm not having the best experience with the Atrius safety selector. And Grant, being such a stand-up dude, he got me in touch with one of the guys on the design team and was explaining what he feels might be one of the problems. One would be putting in an H3 buffer. Now, I didn't change the buffer in this one because I figured that it should work, since the 16-inch KS47 had the standard PSA H1 buffer. You can see bolt daggone stuff. You know what I'm saying? So there's that part. But I figured, well, I shouldn't have to change that, but I did. So in here, I changed the buffer to the H3. That didn't work. June 26th, I put the H1 buffer back in, but I put the mil-spec trigger in. And now let me show you. So mil-spec trigger works, still getting those soft primer strikes because I'm using the H1 buffer and the spring that came with it. See what I'm saying? Now the good thing is I know that it works. It's now the setup that I got to get right, the tuning I got to get right. And there's some ideas of some things that I can do. And I have what I can do, at least for right now, is put another H3 buffer in here, or at least try the H3 buffer over again. So what I got is the H3 buffer that I had at home, or at least what I thought was an H3 buffer. And man, still with the soft primer strikes. This time it's even worse. So I'm getting a little frustrated, and I'm thinking maybe it is the platform. Maybe it's because I'm running an 8-inch and not a 16-inch. Then that could be the problem. It could be also that I'm dealing with a 762 by 39 type platform, and with just how this was originally made to work, it's supposed to, or at least I wouldn't say made to work, but everybody's using the AR-15s. So I'm like, all right, let's go back to the AR-15. So put the mil-spec trigger back inside Bane. I have the H3 buffer in here that I thought was an H3 buffer, but apparently it's not, because the same thing is going on. And that's frustrating. And now I'm really contemplating on maybe I should just stay with the D's nuts. Now, I'm just test firing to make sure I put the right trigger combination back in here, which is the Geisley SD3G. However, as we speak today, I realized, I realized a couple things. So back then, the CMC trigger that I had, that was a drop-in trigger. Drop-in trigger housing. So there was no part of a open or closed area. Well, that wasn't going to work at all. And just to make sure that everything works, I'm like, let me try these nuts one more time, just to make sure that this shit actually does work the way it's supposed to. It works, but still the same result of what the H1 buffer is giving me. So my idea is we're gonna purchase an actual new H3 buffer to run in both of them. But as I was saying, the CMC trigger didn't have the option for the safety selector to actually go into it. The Geisley, when I take a look at it, the Geisley is flat enough for me to run the safety selector. So I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna get back with you about it. Yeah.